What if the most terrifying thing about Erling Haaland isn't his incredible strength, his height, or even his finishing? What if his biggest weapon is something defenders can't see until it's already too late? Because when Haaland scores, the final touch often looks simple. A tap-in, a one-touch finish, a powerful strike, a header. But the goal usually begins several seconds earlier. It begins with a movement, a change of position, a run into space, a perfectly timed acceleration, and sometimes doing absolutely nothing until the defender makes one tiny mistake. That is what makes Erling Haaland so fascinating. He doesn't need endless touches to dominate a game. He doesn't need to perform 10 skills before scoring. He can disappear from the action, suddenly appear in the most dangerous area, and turn one opportunity into a goal. Today, we're breaking down 5 unbeatable football strategies you can learn from Erling Haaland, and these aren't just techniques for professional strikers. They are principles that can make almost any footballer more dangerous. If you love football breakdowns, tactical secrets, player analysis, and lessons from the world's biggest stars, subscribe to Sports Freak right now, because this is where we turn football's best players into lessons you can actually use. The first strategy is simple, but incredibly difficult to master. Attack space before the ball arrives. This might be Haaland's greatest weapon. A lot of young attackers focus almost entirely on the ball. They want the pass immediately. They move toward the ball. They constantly ask teammates to play it to their feet. Haaland often does the opposite. He thinks about where the ball is going to be. Not where it is now. Where it will be 2 seconds from now. That difference is enormous. Imagine a midfielder has possession near the edge of the box. A defender is watching Haaland closely. Haaland doesn't necessarily run immediately. He waits. He observes the defender. He studies the defensive line. Then, at exactly the right moment, he accelerates into the space behind the defender. The pass arrives. Haaland is already there. That isn't luck. That's timing. One of the biggest lessons for any footballer is that you don't always need to run harder. You need to run smarter. Instead of constantly moving toward the ball, start looking for spaces defenders don't want you to enter. If the defender is watching the ball, attack their blind side. If the defensive line is moving forward, look for the space behind it. If a teammate has time to pass, start your run before they release the ball. The goal is to arrive at the space at the same time as the pass. That is how Haaland turns movement into goals. And that brings us to strategy number 2. Use your body to create an advantage before you even touch the ball. Haaland's physical strength is obvious. But his use of his body is much more intelligent than simply overpowering defenders. He constantly positions himself between the defender and the ball. This gives him a crucial advantage. Imagine you're a defender trying to stop a striker. If the striker is directly in front of you, you can challenge for the ball. But if the striker gets his body between you and the ball, suddenly you have a problem. You can't easily reach around him. You can't attack the ball without risking a foul. And if the attacker gets the first touch, you are already behind the play. Haaland understands this extremely well. His positioning allows him to protect the ball, create separation, and attack crosses with a physical advantage. But here's the lesson. You don't have to be Haaland's size to use this strategy. Body positioning works for everyone. If you're receiving the ball under pressure, don't stand square. Open your body. Use your shoulder to feel where the defender is. Put your body between the opponent and the ball. Take your first touch away from pressure. Even a smaller player can become extremely difficult to dispossess if their body positioning is correct. Football isn't only about strength. It's about leverage. Haaland simply happens to combine elite positioning with exceptional physical power. Strategy number 3 is one that separates great strikers from average ones. Make your runs unpredictable. Think about what defenders fear most. They don't fear a striker who runs randomly. They fear a striker they cannot read. If a striker always runs behind the defense, defenders simply drop deeper. If he always comes toward the ball, defenders follow. But Haaland constantly changes the problem. Sometimes he comes short. Sometimes he stays central. Sometimes he moves toward the wing. Sometimes he attacks the near post. Sometimes he waits for the far post opportunity. Sometimes he starts behind the defender and then makes a sudden diagonal run. This constant variation makes him difficult to track. And there is a powerful lesson here. Don't make the same run every time. If you always sprint behind the defender, they will learn. If you always come toward the ball, they will learn. Instead, create uncertainty. Start a run. Stop. Change direction. Move away. Then attack the space again. The defender should never feel completely comfortable knowing what you're about to do. This is particularly useful for forwards playing against organized defenses. You don't always need to beat the defender physically. Sometimes you simply need to make them lose track of you. A single moment of hesitation can create the space you need. And when you're playing at striker, that half second can be the difference between a shot and nothing. Strategy number 4 is perhaps the most underrated Haaland lesson of all. Keep your finishing simple. Football fans sometimes assume that great goals must be complicated. But Haaland's finishing often demonstrates the opposite. The best finish is frequently the simplest one. One touch. Low into the corner. First time. Open net. Near post. Far post. Header. The objective isn't to make the goal look spectacular. The objective is to score. That sounds obvious, but young players often overcomplicate finishing situations. They take unnecessary touches. They try to beat another defender. They attempt a complicated skill. They hesitate. Haaland often makes the decision quickly. If the ball is there to be finished, finish it. If one touch is enough, don't take 3. If the goalkeeper has left a corner open, attack it. This doesn't mean every finish should be simple. Haaland is capable of spectacular strikes too. The lesson is decision efficiency. Use the minimum number of actions necessary to complete the objective. This is something every player can train. During finishing drills, don't only practice shooting. Practice decision-making. Receive the ball. Identify the goalkeeper's position. Choose the finish. Execute quickly. The less time you give the goalkeeper to react, the more dangerous you become. And there is another important part of this strategy. Don't panic after missing a chance. Great strikers miss. The difference is how they respond. Haaland can miss one opportunity and still be ready for the next one. That mentality is crucial. Because if you spend 5 minutes thinking about the chance you missed, you might miss the next one too. Stay mentally present. The next opportunity could arrive immediately. And now we reach strategy number 5, the one that might completely change the way you look at Haaland. It's called patience. Yes, patience. That might sound strange when we're talking about one of the most explosive strikers in football. But Haaland doesn't sprint constantly. He knows when to wait. He knows when to conserve energy. He knows when to disappear between defenders. And he knows when to explode. That contrast is deadly. Imagine a defender watching a striker who is constantly moving at maximum intensity. Eventually, the defender becomes accustomed to it. But imagine a striker standing quietly between 2 defenders. The defender relaxes for just a moment. Then suddenly the striker accelerates. That change creates separation. Haaland understands that stillness can be as dangerous as movement. This is a massive lesson for attackers. You don't have to be running every second. Sometimes standing in the right place is better than running into the wrong place. Sometimes waiting 1 second allows a passing lane to open. Sometimes slowing down creates the opportunity for a sudden acceleration. Football is about rhythm. And elite attackers know how to control that rhythm. Haaland's game is almost like a trap. He may appear disconnected from the play. Then the ball enters the final third. Suddenly, his movement changes. 1 run. 1 acceleration. 1 touch. 1 finish. Goal. That is efficiency. And when you combine all 5 strategies, you begin to understand why Haaland is so difficult to defend. Strategy 1. Attack space before the ball arrives. Strategy 2. Use your body to create an advantage. Strategy 3. Make your runs unpredictable. Strategy 4. Keep your finishing simple and decisive. Strategy 5. Master patience and explosive timing. Notice what all 5 strategies have in common. They aren't really about scoring goals. They're about creating the conditions that make goals easier. That is the real Haaland lesson. A great striker doesn't wait for chances to magically appear. They create better chances through movement, positioning, timing, and decision-making. And perhaps the most important thing you can learn from Haaland is that football isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less, but doing it at exactly the right moment. If you are a young striker, stop focusing only on how many goals Haaland scores. Study how he gets into position. Study when he starts his runs. Study where he stands when the ball is on the opposite side. Study how he positions his body. Study how he reacts after losing the ball. Study how quickly he makes decisions inside the penalty area. That's where the real education is. Because goals are the final chapter. Movement is the story. And Haaland is one of the clearest examples of that principle in modern football. So the next time you watch him play, don't just watch the finish. Before the goal happens, ask yourself, where was Haaland standing? What was the defender looking at? When did Haaland start moving? Why did he choose that direction? How did he create separation? And why did he need only 1 or 2 touches to finish? Those questions will completely change the way you watch football. And they can change the way you play it too. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to Sports Freak for more tactical football lessons, player analysis, football stories, and strategies inspired by the biggest stars in the game. Because every elite footballer has something you can learn. And Haaland's lesson is brutally simple. Don't chase the game. Read it. Don't always run faster. Run at the right moment. Don't always touch the ball more. Make every touch count. And don't wait for defenders to make mistakes. Create situations where they have no choice but to make them. That is the Haaland blueprint. 5 strategies. 1 mindset. And 1 terrifying idea for every defender. Sometimes the most dangerous striker on the pitch is the one you can't see coming.